Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? So, we're going to talk about one of the biggest debates in music industry today.
But most importantly, shout out to all my ambitious women getting their own money. Make some motherfucking noise for yourself.
In the music industry today. So, I think that this debate is who is the queen of rap?
I want to say congratulations to all the girls in this world who are strong, who are confident, and yes, we have insecure moments.
Nicki Minaj, Little Kim, Cardi B. These are the names that come up when we talk about female rap royalty, right?
I say, please, you're doing all of that, please. I got my own fans, I got my own ends, I got my own money. I don't need you to do anything. But if you want to be there for me, be there for me. But all of that you're talking, Little Kim can hold her own, and so can any other women out there.
But let's break it down and take a deeper look at the numbers and the facts and just get into it. Let's really talk about this, okay? Because while some fans may love to claim that Nicki Minaj is the queen of rap,
Hey, yo.
when you take a closer look at pure sales and the streaming era, the crown isn't as clear cut as it may seem, okay? So I think that this is very important that we talk about this, okay?
They always posting me. They always post everything I do. You know what I'm saying? They claim they hate me, but they really love me because they be on my page before my fans. They be everything that I do, they be on it before my fans. So clearly, that seems like love to me. Seems like you love me.
So let's talk about the pure sales argument, right? Because I think that it's important to talk about this because a lot of people just speak about sales. Like, hey, Nicki has said it herself, to be the queen of rap, you can't just be focused on rap. You got to actually sell, So let's talk about this, okay?
And that's okay.
Now we're going to talk about Little Kim, Missy Elliott, Nicki Minaj, right? When we talk about pure sales, no streaming, no bundles, no extras, it's a whole different ball game, right? So let's start with Little Kim, whose debut album Hardcore sold a solid 2 million copies purely, right?
You haven't heard nothing from me, have you?
So back in the 90s, when physical album sales were the standard, Little Kim came out swinging, dominating the charts, right? So we're going to just speak about this, right? But here's the twist. Nicki Minaj, with her, streaming and bundles today, still doesn't win if we're talking about pure sales alone.
I did everything myself. So, you know what I'm saying? There was ups and downs financially. There was ups and downs mentally.
Nicki's debut album, Pink Friday, sold 1.7 million copies in pure sales. Still impressive, but far behind Little Kim numbers. So if we're talking about just pure sales, Little Kim takes that. Okay, and I'm sorry a lot of people would not like to hear this, but it's actually a fact. Look it up. Just pure sales, no bundles, just talking about pure sales. And before Nicki's fans, jump in, well, those were different times. Back then, it was harder to sell albums. I get that, okay?
That's when haters start like, oh, you only made TikTok music. And it's like, I didn't blow up because of TikTok, baby. I had 3 number ones.
But here's the thing, even though we're in like the streaming world now, pure sales still matter. If we're only counting album purchases, Little Kim still has the edge, right? If we're gonna talk about something else, I think it's important to talk about Missy Elliott, because Missy Elliott is a special case. Now, we can't talk about pure sales without mentioning this, like Missy Elliott. Her debut album, Super Duper Fly, released in 1997, and it actually outsold Little Kim with the 2.5 million pure sales. But there's a catch with the Missy Elliott, right? So Missy Elliott isn't necessarily characterized as a female rapper. She is like a genre blending artist, R&B, rap, pop. So when we're talking about female rappers specifically, we leave her out of the conversation for now. But yes, Missy Elliott had the highest pure sales among female rap artists, but she's just not a sole female rapper, She classifies as other genres as well. So we're just talking about now the streaming and bundles era because, hey, that's how things used to be. A lot of fans say that we shouldn't just talk about, pure sales. Let's talk about the streaming and the bundle era, right? Let's talk about the streaming and the bundle era. where we're talking about a completely different game. Cardi B, she's the queen of streaming. Invasion of Privacy was a streaming powerhouse, and her numbers are through the roof.
Like, numbers never lie, but when it's convenient to people, numbers are lies. You know what I'm saying?
She has like 2 point, not even, she has 4 million. She has 4 million units clarified. Rhea Platinum, her album has been streamed millions of times, and she has capitalized on the power of digital music.
People have made narratives of me to try to discredit me because they hate me or because they just don't want to believe it. So people be like, oh, it's payola. It's a label made you, this, and that. But nobody's listening to you. It's fake. It's this.
Cardi B's success isn't about pure album sales. It's about streaming and bundles. And in the new age, it reigns supreme, okay? Because Cardi B is the toppest when we're talking about streaming and bundles. Nicki Minaj, who is one of the first artists to fully take advantage of the streaming and digital sales in the earlier part of her career, has seen massive success. Pink Friday has sold over 3 million units when we combine sales, streaming, and bundles. But even with that, she still doesn't top Cardi B in today's streaming era. Cardi Invasion of Privacy outperforms Nicki Minaj Pink Friday in terms of total units sold, with more than 4 million units certified. And I think that's very important to discuss, because if we're talking about the streaming era, then we're talking about natural sales,
You can never just win.
So here's the bottom line. Pure sales, Little Kim has, she just still holds the crown for 2 million copies of hardcore. The only person to beat her is Missy Elliott. And like I said, she's not classified as a female rapper alone. She, meets other genres. Now, if we're talking about streaming and bundles, Cardi B takes the crown with Invasion of Privacy, topping 4 million units, certified. And we're just talking about just first albums, because it wouldn't be fair to rate Nicki's other album, because Cardi B only has one album. So I'm just going with these lady sales with their first albums to just make it fair, all around the board, the first albums, right? So while Nicki Minaj trails behind when we're talking about streaming and bundles. So pure sales, Little Kim is the queen. Nicki comes after Kim. After Nicki, when we're talking about pure sales, comes Cardi B. But if we're talking about streaming and bundles, Nicki still doesn't win that. It's Cardi B, then it's Nicki Minaj, and I'm just keeping it real, but it's not just about numbers.
Make some motherfucking noise. Stay ass in school. Love you.
It's about how you define success in the game, right? Are you talking about album sales in the old school sense, or are we talking about modern day streaming and bundles? Because if we're sticking to pure sales, Little Kim is still the queen, but in the streaming era, it's Cardi B. If you're going to throw streaming and bundles into the mix, Nicki Minaj still doesn't win. The queen is not as clear as many people would have to believe. They would really want you to believe that, hey, it's all about sales, or hey, it's all about streaming. Let's talk about that. I just think it's a very honest question and an honest conversation. At the end of the day, we have to, remember that statistics are only part of the story, right?